five, no debating. Top five, top five, top five.
Top five, Kyle.
Top five.
Let's get it. Our final regular season top five power rankings, Kyle. Obviously, we're going to do the playoff teams at a later week, but we're going to head into week 18 with our final top five of the regular season. Kyle, I believe I started last time, so I'm going to let you start at number 5.
All right. At number 5. Real quick. This is to me, this is like the most significant top 5 we're going to do, because once we get into the playoffs, specifically the divisional round, it just kind of settles itself. The remaining teams are the top 5. So this is kind of our last shot at being like, these are the teams at the very end that are going to be there to come back, because we're not going to go back to week 12 to see who is right. We're going to go back to week 18 and see where we had, because I think there's a case to make right now. There's 5 really good teams. So at 5, I'm going to go Eagles. I'm going to put the Eagles at number 5 because, in my opinion, they have everything that they need to go to the Super Bowl. They have a good defense. They have a good defensive coordinator, a good offensive coordinator, a strong running game, one of the strongest running games in the NFL. And they have a quarterback that has the experience and talent to take them the distance. Now, is Jalen Hurts having one of those QB years that jumps off the screen? Is he going to be an MVP finalist? No. And that is the reason why I have them at 5, because at the end of the day, elite quarterback play is usually what takes you to the very top. Yeah. And the one thing I feel like holding the Eagles back for me is Jalen Hurts having a better than average season, but not a superstar season.
Yeah, nothing spectacular, and the fact that he's been injured too these last couple games is a huge factor. So you got the Eagles at number 5. For me at number 5, and also real quick, I kind of took all these teams and I was like, okay, who beats who? Like, is this team better than this team? Is that team better than this team? Like, I really, really was like, this one has to be the best one, because you're right. It goes into the playoffs. This is the one we're going to look back at and be like, was the number 5 team actually the number 5 team, or were they more of a 3? Were they the 1? Was the number 1 a 4? Something like that.
Were we fooled or misled a little bit?
Exactly. Yep. So at number 5, I even shocked myself with this one. I'm taking the Chiefs at number 5. Nothing from the past kind of, went into this number 5. I just said, you know what? The Chiefs, good defense. Their offense, again, has been lackluster, to put it lightly, I would say, throughout this season. They've only got 1 loss, which is, a rarity in the NFL these days. And I don't know. I just think everyone else on my top 5 can either put up a really good game or beat them at this point in the season. So for me at number 5, I'm going Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everybody can beat the Chiefs, but yet no one does.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And it's something I've struggled with all year, because as much as, like the blocked field goal, right? We should already have 10 wins. We should have had 10 wins 3 weeks ago. And it's just, it kills me, because it's like, make it make sense, but it doesn't. Because this is Mahomes' best record as a Chief.
It's like crazy.
Like think about it. If they didn't lose to the Bills, like, they would be going for the perfect season. Yeah. And a 3-peat.
Yeah. The stakes would be so high for them right now.
I can no longer put them out of my top 5. I have them at 4.
Oh, shit.
I have to.
4.
A first round bye. Whether they're the best team in the AFC, I'm just tired of playing these games. Like, I'm tired of saying that all these teams can beat them, and it never happens. there is one team that beat them, and that team is going to make an appearance higher in my top 5. But besides that, there's really no reason anymore for me to withhold them from the top 5. It's just simply not fair in my opinion. Like, if you go
Yeah.
15-1, you're a damn good football team. And I don't care if the numbers, the refs, whatever people want to say, you
Mm-hmm.
can't have 15 flukes. At some point, you got to give the team the nod and say, there's a reason that the AFC is running through Arrowhead,
Mm-hmm.
and Mahomes is Mahomes. I mean, he's aiming to do something nobody has ever done. This is a long list of elite quarterbacks, from John Elway to Troy Aikman
Mm-hmm.
to you name it. Nobody, no matter Terry Bradshaw, John Elway, all of
Yeah.
these quarterbacks that have gone on dynasties, including Tom Brady, no
Mm-hmm.
one has ever won 3 in a row. And the Chiefs right now are the favorite to do it. I got to have the Chiefs in my top 5 at 4.
I respect it. I respect it. And you and I actually have 5 and 4 flipped. At number 4, I've got the Eagles as well. The Eagles defense has been doing well. Fourth quarter defense has been a little bit on the rougher side for the Eagles. They give up a ton of points. I don't know if they're gassed. I don't know if it's just the game planning is a little bit more, I don't know, just enhanced in the fourth quarter on the opposite side, the opposite team. But that defense, while very, very good, it's starting to stutter and sputter a bit here in the fourth quarter. So at number 4, I've got the Eagles. And of course, Jalen Hurts thing is going to hurt them pretty bad. Obviously, you hope that week 1 of the NFL playoffs, he's going to be there. No Pickett, no whoever the fuck else they got out there. You hope it's Jalen Hurts because he gives you the best chance to win. And we got to remember, he was in the Super Bowl just a couple years ago. So he's going to give you the best shot to win. But for now, Eagles at number 4.
I respect it. I think our top 5 is probably going to be really similar, which might be the first time we have the same 5 teams. And number 3, I have the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking, really, what the Vikings have been able to do this year.
Yeah.
And you have to give credit to Kevin O'Connell and the job that he has done. He is an elite coach. The NFC North has 3 great coaches, and that division is going to be a battle. It is quite possible, the way that it's shaped out, because we do know that the Lions or the Vikings will get the 1 seed, which means the 5 and the 6 seed will be the Packers and the Lions or the Vikings, which means one team is not going to play the wild card round. And it also means that the Packers and the Vikings cannot play each other, which why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing it up to tell you that 3 of the 4 remaining teams to make the Super Bowl in the NFC are going to be NFC North teams. It is going to be the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions in the divisional round. Just take a minute and really let that soak in. That is wild. I can't think of a time that's ever happened. I've seen 3 teams get in, but for 3 of the 4 remaining to be in one division is just wild. And the Vikings haven't inserted themselves as much as it felt like throughout the whole season, that the Lions were just going to pull away because they were stacking wins. I think they won 8 or 9 in a row at one point in the season.
Yeah.
And every time they looked back, there was no separation from the Vikings. And it just felt like at some point it was going to happen. And it just never happened. And the Vikings have set themselves up now to take the 1 seed from the Lions. And if you would have said that 10 weeks ago, it would have been the most wild prediction that the Vikings, we were like, the Vikings, they might be a sneaky playoff team. At one point in the offseason, my bold prediction was that the Vikings might have the worst record of the season. And that just tells you, and it was strictly based on their schedule. They have not had an easy schedule. And now you just look at like how far we've come from that moment. And you just have to, it's the same with the Chiefs. Like eventually you just have to give these teams their flowers and say, holy shit, you did it. You put yourself in this position. Can they beat the Lions? They quite possibly might, and take the 1 seed, which is just honestly Sam Darnold. It's the story of the year. I don't know if he'll win comeback player because of the voting and everything. We've gotten into that, but should he win most improved player if it was an award? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think even in Ryan Tannehill's best years we ever saw a career resurgence to the level that we're witnessing Sam Darnold and the Vikings this year. And that's a credit to Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I always like to look at these types of quarterbacks who do something that we were not expecting. Think Geno Smith, think Baker Mayfield. I like to call it the Ryan Tannehill Award because he came back in Tennessee, went to 2 straight AFC Championship games, won the division 3 times in a row, whatever it was in Tennessee. So I like to give Sam Darnold, if he's not going to win Comeback Player of the Year, the Ryan Tannehill Award of just coming back from basically the bust label, right? So I want to give it to him. I think it was Baker last year and then Geno Smith the year before for me. But I definitely think Darnold is definitely the award winner for that.
We might have to rename the award the Sam Darnold Award.
I know, right? Like it was just like, what the hell? Where did this come from? I also have the Vikings at number 3. You said it perfectly. Like the Lions were on a stretch where they were winning and winning and winning. And they were like, surely we have to have the NFC North crown by now. And no, because for every win, the Vikings are right there. And then win, and then win, and then win. And they were on their tail the entire season and continue to be there up until week 18. I remember a few weeks ago, it was probably like week 7-ish, week 8-ish. I was like, if the Vikings continue this pace, they might be able to win the NFC North. And that was at a really weird time to say that because everybody had the Lions winning. Now, we have to remember, the Lions were not piling injuries like they have been. And to their credit, they continued to win. But the Vikings did it as well. And luckily for the Vikings, they have not had an injury bug hit their team. They have just been dominating. And like you said, their schedule has not been an easy one. They're not playing the Panthers. They're not playing the Jaguars every week and the Raiders every week. They're playing the Packers last week. They're playing all top teams. And here they are with 14 wins. So I've got the Vikings at number 3 as well. Credit to them. And week 18, man, Sunday Night Football is going to be a treat for NFL fans.
Dude, I can't wait for Sunday. Like, we'll get into it tomorrow.
Yep.
At number 2.
Ooh, shit.
I have the Buffalo Bills.
Oh no!
I have the Bills at 2. I have the Bills at 2. Look, Josh Allen's incredible. Mm-hmm. He is the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Called it preseason. Said Josh Allen's going to win MVP and he's going to have his best season. Maybe not statistically, but my exact words were maybe not statistically, but when the season's over, we'll look back and say this was his best year as the quarterback of the Bills. Mm-hmm. I think that's true. When you look at what he's done with what he's had, there used to be a quote in my locker room in high school that said, a man shows who he is by what he does with what he has, because we were a really poor school. We didn't have the fancy equipment that Trinity had across the street.
Yeah.
And I always saw that quote and I just loved it because I was like, you're right. Like, we don't have the equipment they have. We don't have the talent that they have, but we have heart. And, we have these rusty weights, and let's see what we can do with them. And that's kind of the mentality of the Bills this year is like, let's just put the pads on. Let's play fundamental football. Let's limit the mistakes. And let's just do our job. Very Patriot-esque type of season from the Bills. It does remind me of a Tom Brady season where, You didn't know the receivers that well, but you just knew Tom Brady was going to find a way to win. And we're witnessing one of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks of the future in Josh Allen's prime right now.
Yeah.
And this does feel like his season to take this team to the Super Bowl. It does feel like the AFC is going to run through Buffalo. It feels like an AFC championship game is going to be Chiefs Bills, and it feels like it's going to be one of the great games. However, it also feels like that game's not going to be a double overtime game. It feels like the Bills could have a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Like the Bills do feel like they've separated themselves from every team in the AFC. And that's why I have them at 2, because once you get to 1 and 2, if you're picking 2 teams from 2 different conferences, unless I'm missing something, that is your Super Bowl prediction.
For myself, at number 2, I'm going with the Lions. I'm going with the Lions at number 2. I have a tough time picking. I have a tough time putting them at 1 because of the injuries. And again, I mentioned before, they have done like everything that they can with those injuries to continue to win and to continue to put a stupid amount of points on the board and to continue to dominate on defense, shutting down opponents when needed. I mean, their game against the San Francisco 49ers, they had 2 interceptions against Brock Purdy. Their defense really did shut the door in that 49ers offense. And they continue to do this again with those injuries piling up. And, you know, that's going to be something that is going to be said about this Lions team, you know, in the future, for future seasons to come. Well, how can the Lions win at 14 games, 13 games, whatever it is, at the end of the season, and they have so many, they had so many injuries. One of their injuries was their star defensive player. Like, teams are going to look at that and be like, look, we can do this. We can be like the Lions of 2024, continue to have injuries, and still dominate in the football games and in the W column. So for me, at number 2, I've got the Lions, and my number 1, your number 1, I think is pretty obvious at this point. But you're right; these top 2 teams seem to be a lot of people's favorites for a Super Bowl contender. I'll let you go with your number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Lions at 1, and it just makes sense. I mean, the first power rankings we did, I had the Lions at 1, and I had an opportunity here to basically, like, I guess, pat myself on the back and go back to where we started. And
Yeah.
now I don't believe that I ever moved the Lions from 1. There might have been 1 week where I went Bills. I don't recall, but
Week 16, going into week 16.
Yeah, it felt like recently. I think was it Bills.
Yeah, you had the Bills going into week 16 as number 1, with the Lions at 3. They may have come off out of a loss too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they lost to the Rams, and then I think after that they beat the Packers. But like, look, the reason that I'm not too worried about the injuries is because specifically the injury to David Montgomery, the Lions they might be the only team that could actually improve with an injury to that player.
Yeah.
And that's just because Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those backs where it's like he's obviously a 3-down back. And now you're just going to feed him 100% of the snaps. And who do you think? I mean, look, I've always respected the game plan and the philosophy of limiting the amount of carries that one has because you have the other. But don't get it twisted. Like, that was a luxury. It wasn't a necessity. Now you are going to be giving Jahmyr Gibbs 100% of the carries, and I think that the Lions are going to have the same amount, if not more, rushing yards, more rushing touchdowns. It's just going to be all Jahmyr Gibbs instead of split.
Yeah.
When it comes to the receivers, I like that Tim Patrick has really emerged late in the season as a trustworthy number 3.
Yeah.
And I also think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a solidified top 5 receiver in the league. And then on the other side, Jameson Williams, he's really emerged the last couple of weeks. I mean, he has a game with I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. He had 172 yards and multiple touchdowns. Like, this offense is really going. And you know what, Josh Allen, as much as we say like, oh, he is the MVP this year, but just talking about the Super Bowl and overall team performance, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't. Like, Jared Goff, we've seen in the playoffs, and we've seen him play extremely well. He is one of those quarterbacks that he does not, the moment is not too big for him. Like, he plays his best football in the playoffs. And I mean, I have the Lions winning on Sunday night, and I think that the NFC is going to run through a dome, and that's where the Lions play their best football. And I think with Dan Campbell and the grit and that team and the way that they play for each other, I feel like the Lions are the best team in football. I feel like maybe people get sick and tired of it, so they want to throw in a curveball and be like, I'm not talking about you specifically, but just like the NFL media, it's like, yeah, the Lions were the best team for like 80% of the season. Let's throw in the Vikings. Let's have some fun with it. And I'm here to
spicy.
I'm here to shut down the spice and shut down the fun. I'm going to be boring, and I'm going to take us back to week 1 when we knew that the Lions were the best team in football. And I'm here to remind everybody that there's no reason for us to think otherwise. The Lions are the team to beat in the NFC, and I don't see anybody doing it.
Woo! Kyle coming in hot with his number 1 of the Lions pick. I love all the points he made. It's true, because you're right. You know, NFL media does that where they have been the best team. And again, I point to their injuries and how they're able to overcome that and still have 13 wins, going into week 18, going for the number 1 seed and the NFC North crown in the best division, right? Like, they, no matter where they end up, I think they're going to be able to dominate. It's going to suck if it's on the road, but because you want to play at home every game up until the Super Bowl. But you're right. They're able to dominate. And I don't think the NFL media gives them enough credit when it comes to a time like this, where they're like, actually, I think the Vikings are the better team, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, come on. 95% of the season, the Lions have been your number 1, and now you want to spice it up. And I get it, and I don't get it. You know what I mean? So, and I'm about to do that right now, at least in terms of top 5, because for me, my number 1 is going to be the Buffalo Bills. You know, you talked about Jared Goff going to a Super Bowl, the moment clearly not being, the moment clearly not being too big for him, because we saw how he performed last year in the playoffs. We've seen how he performed with the Lions against top opponents, and just in general, even with the Rams when he was their quarterback, right? So he's there for the big moment. That is who this guy is. Jared Goff is built for moments like this, keeps his composure, all that stuff. But Josh Allen is just as much built for the big moment, like Jared Goff, like Patrick Mahomes, like all of these other quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, going into the postseason. And for me, I think they're the better team because of him. I don't think you can go wrong with the Lions or the Bills right now at number 1 or number 2. I think they're interchangeable. But the Bills just got Keon Coleman back. Yes, their defense again isn't amazing. It's not like a dominant defense that we've seen in years past with the Bills, where that's kind of where they prided themselves. But their defense is very, very good. It's still very good. It's still very they do everything they can to minimize the amount of points scored on them. So credit to them, credit to Josh Allen, what he's done this year. Like you said, MVP right now is Josh Allen, and that's why I'm going with the Bills at number 1. There is our week 18 top 5. They're at the bottom. Kyle's got the Lions at number 1. I've got the Bills at number 1. Kyle, week 18 is going to be incredible.
Yeah, you're gonna be shocked when the Broncos go into Buffalo and knock off the Bills in a week and 2 days from now.
Shit, Kyle's calling it. He's fucking calling that shit. I love it.
That would be crazy.
That would be fucking.
I kind of
insane.
like it though. You know, it's really dangerous when a team gets in the playoffs and they're playing with house money. You know what I'm talking
Oh yeah.
about? Like,
Oh yeah, they're dangerous. It's a dangerous team.
yeah, like a good defense, quarterback playing really well, and like a team that's just happy to be there. And one team is like, if you get bounced in the first round, like we are giving up on you. That type of pressure for Buffalo in Denver, just playing free and having fun. It could be a very dangerous matchup. We won in Buffalo last year too. So I actually like the matchup. We got to handle the Chiefs this week, but next week it's going to be Broncos Buffalo. And that is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait.
I can't wait for I can't wait for that, but I can't wait for week 18 to be finished, for all that to be cemented in a bracket. That's going to be great.
If we lose,
you're like, this
will not age well.
Either way, because the Broncos are going to win. You guys are watching this on Friday, Sunday, week 18 of the NFL schedule. Kyle and I will be here from start. From first slate, first game till the end of Sunday Night Football. We're going to be doing sips for subs and chugs for super chats. So if you want to be there, drop us a super chat. We're going to be chugging. We're going to be sipping for subscribers on that week 18 stream. Be here at the Only Football Podcast for that week 18 stream. It is going to be a great time, and it's going to be 10 a.m. and I'm going to have to sip and chug at 10 a.m., Kyle. Here on the West Coast. That's what I'm gonna have to do.
It's gonna be a good time. I'm hoping that if we win, that I'll be able to, remain in the seat. I
get it if you have to go celebrate. I get it if you have to celebrate. I might have
to just like run around the I don't know what I have no idea what that's gonna be like.
Oh shit. That'll be fun.
I just hope that, if we don't win, then, obviously I'll be here. Oh my God. I have no words, but you guys know how much that will mean if we get in, 10 years, dude, 10 years. It'll be a big moment for the channel. It'll be the biggest game ever recorded on this channel. So I think it's fair to say that. So, last week was pretty big, but like we always knew we had this one to fall back on. But this is really the end of the road, and that's what makes this the biggest game of the year. And I said it week 1. I said week 18 against the Chiefs in our throwbacks at home. Patrick Surtain, by the way, today is now the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, wow. Nice.
After holding Jamar Chase to like 24 yards on Saturday or something crazy. Actually, he had a pretty good game, but not when Surtain was covering him.
Yeah.
He is now the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, and he's first team All-Pro. I think he's the first player to be a first team All-Pro in 3 of his first 4 years.
Wow.
So he's already basically on pace to have the most first team All-Pros of a cornerback in NFL history. And I said this, I think 2 years ago when I said, I don't know, we were doing a fun segment and I said top 5 Broncos of all time. And I had Surtain at 5 and people were like, that's crazy. And I was like, just wait. Like, I'm telling you, I've watched a lot of football. This guy's great. And I'm just happy he's finally getting the credit that he should have been getting all along, but like the national credit, the national awards and stuff.
Yep.
And then Nick Benito's like 3rd. So it's a really fun year. Of course, the Pro Bowl voting came out today, and Zach Allen was a huge snub. He's like a 5th team alternate, even though he leads the NFL in QB pressures. I know that there's a lot of snubs. We'll probably throw a segment in tomorrow and just talk about it briefly. But yeah, man, I'm excited for week 18 to wrap up so we can start doing playoff football.
Let's go. Playoff football is upon us. And I know, Kyle, the Broncos will be a part of that playoff football. So
let's go.
Kyle, that was
top 5, no debating. Top 5, top 5, top 5.